So, Joanna Geraldi, was it right?
Yes.
Joanna Geraldi
Yes.
and Christian Thuesen.
Yes.
Thanks for talking at IRNOP.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And you had an interesting topic around product citizenship and trying to bring that into your training.
Yes.
For students.
Yes.
Can you tell us more?
Yes.
Do you want to go?
Okay, so we actually reported on a 10-year development of a project management course that tried to be truthful to what we also believe as project scholars, moving away from a more disciplinary understanding of projects, following PMBOK and very normative, into a more reflexive forms of managing projects that are based on practice, that are very much started in this very conference 30 years ago.
Right.
And it's nice actually to see then how, Christian has been developing the course, and I've been part of that.
Yes.
And we had a PhD student studying it. So we're actually the practitioners in here.
Yeah, we are the animals that has been studied in this project, which was a bit peculiar for us.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, she couldn't be here. So we had to do the presentation
Ourselves. But Julie Good. How do you pronounce the family name? So Goodell.
Goodell.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Julie Goodell is the one actually to take
credit for it.
Credit and responsibility.
Yeah.
All right. And you talk about project citizenship. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess it basically comes from another research that we've been doing.
Yeah.
So a couple of years back, we teamed up with a philosopher in Denmark. It's called Anders Fogh Jensen, not the former Prime Minister of Denmark. But he wrote a super interesting piece on the project society.
Yeah.
And then we basically said we need to bring this into the project management community. So we wrote a paper together with him on the projectification of everything, or as a human condition. And as soon as we started coining this principle of the project society, it became also kind of obvious that we need to maybe engage in a discussion around what does it actually looks like if you're a citizen in such a society, right? And then we thought maybe the point of departure is actually our own education, because we basically teach next generation of engineers in participating in society and solving the challenges that face our society and the world as such.
Yeah. So I liked when you earlier said that, in project, we typically think there's something else we're throwing forward, but we're also throwing ourselves forward.
Exactly, yes.
Exactly. So the metaphor we're using is a paragliding.
Yeah.
So usually when we talk about projects, we talk about projecting. So using kind of a baseball, a ball, we're projecting it forward.
Yeah.
But actually in a project society, we project ourselves because we are the very product we're creating through the projects as well, right?
Yeah.
So we create our identities, we create our profiles nowadays through the projects we're part of. And that's kind of central to the ideas of the project society. So as we talk then about projecting, then it becomes more of a flying. So you need actually to jump out there, and it becomes very embodied also to be part of the project society, and dangerous.
And emerging, right? And I think that it's both super fascinating, super inspiring, and gives a lot of energy, because if you start thinking about it, you have all these opportunities as human beings today. You can choose whatever kind of education you want. You can choose almost like the gender you want. You can choose anything, right? So there's so much flexibility out there. But it also comes back to your own decision in terms of how do you want to be. What are the decisions that you're making in lives? And it also comes back to what kind of projects that you do. What do you want to engage in, right? And I think this is super inspiring, and it gets this immense amount of flexibility and freedom for the individual, but it also comes with some huge downsides in terms of stress and depression. And we want to articulate that also in the courses that we do, because that's also a part of being a project citizenship. What I liked a lot was that you had this table where you had a kind of normative project management school, and you had project society, and then the final state and project. What is it?
Project
citizenship. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then you combine it with 4 areas like uncertainty, complexity,
purpose,
people and purpose.
Yeah.
And that became a mix. So for me, that was really value adding, and I would really like to go on your training.
Well, it's online. You can just take it online, right?
No, because it seemed like you had spotted things that kind of are interesting to work with in the modern project domain by doing this.
Yes. So these 4 different perspectives was actually kind of an ongoing struggle we had to try to simplify the curriculum of a project management course into something that everyone can remember. So 4 things is something that you can keep on your head, and we hope that the students will get out of the class thinking, okay, there are 4 things. So and with those we hope to capture like 80% of the important stuff.
Because as you, I don't know if you said it, but some things are also contextual, depending on what kind of business they will work in. But it seemed like you found stuff that are relevant regardless, and then they have to tweak that to the business arena, I guess.
Actually, it's part of the course design. So, Christian, the students actually choose bring into class their own projects, and they actually are going to be studying real projects.
So then they get to see that concept a bit.
Absolutely. So, then therefore the course starts with their own interests, and then they also vote and enter into something called open space. So. All students are invited to, not all students do, but they bring their projects in, including contacts, and present that into this open space where so students then start walking around those different posters, and whenever they feel that they found a project that they relate with, then they engage with that project and stay around in this really messy.
And it doesn't necessarily need to be a project that relates to whatever study line they come from. It can be anything, right? And we basically makes this also a safe space to actually choose something that they just want to work with, right? And then it's the principal idea about this is that the students, then they actually bring reality into the classroom, where we are actually bringing the theories, the models, the academic world, and then we mix it up in case studies that they need to do.
And I guess it becomes a bit more difficult than having, the classical case, build a bridge, when they build in reality.
But
that's much more interesting.
That's more interesting and more value-added,
and it's also much more interesting for us to actually start actually reading.
Becomes more like a consultancy almost, I guess.
And also very much in line with the ideas of the project society, because there we go. So we start with their choice of what kind of projects they would like to study. Right? So what kind of projects they would like to be involved with. So as opposed to us kind of determining what kind of projects they are involved with. So.
Absolutely. So actually the whole project society element is actually something that we introduced in the very last lecture, where we connect the dots. And then we actually end up by saying, okay, it's your choice to choose what kind of projects that you want to engage in, right? So now you just chose one in this particular course, but there's so many other choices to be made in terms of what project you want to do. And thereby you are shaping your future identity.
And so what projects are you going for? Is kind of the last question.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
I think that's a really good end statement.
What kind of person would you like to become?
Exactly.
So thanks a lot for giving us a little speech here on the IRNOP.
Yes,
That was such a nice pleasure.
Great pleasure. Thanks, Matt.